today I'm going to make one of these little wired handbags, and these are great for bridesmaids. And so what we'll do is use 3 different colours of real wire, and just to make a little bag that you can either glue flowers onto or wire some material to sit inside the bag. So what you need is 2, can be different colours, it's up to you, you could do all one colour or have 3 different colours, but I've got 2 coloured reel wires. I've got the pink and the purple, and then I've got 1 reel of bullion in purple. What you do is put the 3 together, so you've got them all like that. Get them all so they at the same length, ideally, doesn't matter, but just start them all off, and then get a pencil, and then what you're going to do is wind them around, so probably about 5 to 6 times around that pencil. Give it about 5 centimetre gap, and then do that again. And you just keep going, keeping those wires together until you run out of wire. You will need probably about 10 metres of this, so it is quite time consuming, but it is worthwhile once you're done. So you just keep going with that. So you can either say 10 metres or just go as long as the reel is, depending on the size of the bag, because if you want it bigger then obviously you'll need more wire. So I have got a few I prepared, so if I just put that to one side. So what you'll do is, it's probably easier to do them in sort of 1 to 2 length pieces, cut them and then start again, because otherwise it does get into quite a big tangle and it's a bit difficult to work with. So I've got a bit of cardboard here, so again about 5 centimetres by 5 centimetres, but you can change that to however big you want, but you can see that just fits into there, so that's quite a good size for that size bag. So you'll just start at the bottom. So I've just left a bit of wire bare, so I'm just going to use that to hold onto the card and then just wrap the wire around. If you end up with obviously all those curly bits ending in one space, this is another good thing about just having the lengths, because you can just go round. They do stretch out a bit. And because you've got those curly pieces of wire, once you get to the end, you just pop that inside or just wrap it around one of the last wires, or just keep it visible to attach your next piece on. So you can just wind that round. We'll go round at the end, pushing in any wires that stick out, so don't worry too much about that, and then just keep going round. So you could just take that round the opposite way that you had before. So just put that down there because it's safe, it does get in the way. Keep going round, just tangling it all together and just moving up the piece of card as you go. So another one here. So I can use that to attach. That's a bit long, you can just snip that away and then start again. And just moving it up the card, just packing it so that it sits all locked together. One there, so just twist those together and bringing up. So that wire's sticking up, so we'll just pop that down. It will just get camouflaged into the bag, but as I said, what we will do is just cover that and feel for any pieces that are sticking up at the end and bend those all in, because it just helps to lock it all together anyway. So what you will need to do is the handle. So think about bringing a length up to about handle size. So I'm just going to lock that piece of wire down. It doesn't seem to want to, but that's fine. But I can just bring it to there and then go around, locking that handle into place so it stays. So, and then coming back up again, just trying to keep that wire straight. So I'm going to bring that up. What you can then do is just hold that there. Is bring, it's a bit fiddly, bring that wire round the bottom and come back up. So you can start to then, it is a bit fiddly to begin with, just while you get that first couple of loops for the handle, but then you can start to just twist them into a bit more of a shape. And again, just start to come around the bag and back up again. I'm just twisting those wires around. So try and keep it on that frame. So if it slips, just bring it back down so it stays on there. We can shape it a little bit more at the end, that's fine. So I'm going to bring that just around the top, just to try and lock those handles in a little bit more. And then just take some more, so these have got twisted. So if it gets twisted, just try and unlock them if you can. It's usually that they've just sort of gone around each other. So just do that. If you can't and you do get into a bit of a tangle with it, you can just cut them, or because we're just blending it together anyway, just twist that into one of the stems. Like that. Because we can sort that out at the end. And then again, just bringing that up, twisting it around the handle. Bringing it back around the bottom. So I seem to have managed to get it back into one to a fashion, but again, you'll see once you start putting it together and moulding it, you won't actually see that too much because you can shape it back again. So just get it sitting back. And also what we will do at the end is just stitch it together a little bit more just to hold it into shape. So I'm just going to come round the sides, so that's sticking out, that's fine. So again, I've got my two ends, I'll just twist those together. So it could be that you just cut out those thicker colour reel wires and just use the bullion just to leave it there, because you can stitch it in at the end once we take the cardboard out. So I'll have some more looking around for those. So I've got another one. I've got them tied, but again, if you don't want to use that stitch in, you can just use it to attach your next one. All these little offcuts are good because you can use them to stitch the bag at the end. So you can see it's becoming much firmer. So it is a bit of a fiddle to begin with, but once you get going and build it up, it does get stronger and easier to work with. The main trick is just getting all these streamers not to tangle into each other. I think that's the main problem, but once you get around that, you should be fine. So I've got one more here, so I'll just attach those. Like that, and that. Keep going round. So I can just go twist that around the handle a bit more if I want to make that a bit thicker. going around. So I'm just coming, I'm not threading it through because again it will get tangled, so I'm just coming through and just bending it back on itself a bit more there. And then just shaping it as I go. And just coming down and putting that one on there. So again, just coming up again, bending it into shape. Just coming down. Just building up. You can, if you want to, thread some beads onto the bullion wire before you make the bag. Obviously when you're making your streamers, when you're doing all those curls with the pencil, that's a good time to do it, and that works really effectively. So just go back round and take that. So I can thread this through now because it's much shorter, whereas before it was quite long and it would have all got tangled in on itself. So you can just try and get it through. Just to thicken up that handle, just so it looks proportionate to the bag. And there we go. So what I will do now is, with that last few bits, is just find a piece I can lift up and just thread that through and just bind it around a few times, making sure that any sharp pieces go back into the bag like that. So you can shape it a little bit more while you've got it on the frame. But what you're then going to do is, once you're finished, is just open that up a little bit, and then you're going to have to cut it out to make it a bit easier, but just take that piece of card out. There we go, and then you're left with a bag. What you're then going to do is get your bullion wire, I've got here, and you're going to use that to stitch. So again, you can work off the reel if you want, or you can take a piece off as you go, because obviously you're going to have a hole here, so you can just then take it through the bag, just twist it to keep it together so you don't lose it, and then just like you're sewing, just literally thread it through until you come back out again. If you do want to add the beads, you could do it at this stitching part as well, if you go right around the bag. So this can be done then, but you do have to be even with it. So I'm just trying to find all this purple. No, come on. Get that through. It's quite a strong bag, so if you find it's tricky getting the bullion, you could use the coloured reel wire to use as the stitch instead. If I can just see it there. Nope. So you're just going to keep going through. There we go. So you'll do that all the way round, all through the bottom. Keep going until you've just made sure that that hole won't just open up. Oops. So keep going, and you'll just go all the way around. You shouldn't necessarily have to go do it at the sides, but obviously feel anywhere that might need just a bit of securing, you can just haphazardly go through the whole bag just to secure it into place. But what I would do is as you move around the bag, I would definitely take some up and just go round that handle just to keep that into place. And if you haven't managed to make the handle particularly thick, what you can do is use the coloured reel wire here just to thicken that up. Because as you see, the reel wire is a bit thicker, so it can just strengthen that for you. And when you finish, just again tie it off, and just make sure that any wires you do put in here are just tucked back in. So you must make sure to feel around for the bag that there are no loose wires. And anything like that that's loose, you can either twist it and poke it back in just to sort of mould and shape. And you see you've got a little pocket there to put your flowers. So what I'm going to do with this one, I've got some orchids here. So this is just little Phalaenopsis orchids that you can cut from the plant. So I might just take a bit more of the stem off. And what you can do with these, because they do last really well, is just use your glue. So think about where you want it to go, and then you can just glue the flowers onto the bag. So these could be used to hold confetti for a flower girl. So that way if you are gluing the flowers onto the front, you've got that little pocket there to add your rose petals or confetti. So just being sparing with the glue, popping that onto there. I have got some olive leaves here, and they work really well because you've got the green, but also the back side of them is silver, so that works well, maybe just to add a bit of contrast and natural material to the bag. If it's a bit long, you can just trim. And then you can just add those in to there. So the glue's not quite set, so I can still just move that a little bit. So that's that one. You have to obviously wait for the glue to set before you want to hold it upright, but that's an effective way for the gluing technique. If you want to add flowers into the bag, obviously you can't really necessarily glue straight in, so what you will need to do is wire up your materials. So I've got some succulents here from the plant. So if you take a succulent out of the pot, you may come away with just a bit of a head, or you might have a bit more of a stem. Again, depending on the size and what you want to do with it, but you could just use some 32 wires going through the head in this cross. It seems a shame to cut that off, but we will. And we'll just come down, make that start, and then just bind the head like that, and then using the stem picks, just tape to seal in those stems. If you've got a thicker, heavier head, you might be able to get away with using a 71 wire just straight through the stem like that, bringing it down and then binding around the stem. But obviously you need to have quite a strong stem for that. If you've got 56 wires, you could try the star effect with that as well. So you're just grading your wire gauge to the weight and size of the succulent. And then what you can do is just make a little bouquet. Again, I just bound, just on a double leg mount, just bound some of the olive leaves just to give a bit of contrast and texture. And because I've wired these, it means I can just have a bit of control over where they're going. So I'm almost making just a little bouquet that can just be placed inside the bag. So I'm making it quite oval because the shape of the bag's quite oval. And I'll just put that on there. So I can bend those wires just to shape that a little bit more. And then when you feel like that's enough, you can just take those together just to hold it as one stem. So it's not very deep, the bag, so I won't need them too long. So what I can do is just trim out most of those stems, just leaving a couple of the stronger ones. So that can be placed in the bag, in the wires, like that. So you pull it through the bottom, like that. And then what you can do is just cut that and then just bend it back so it's attached, so that won't come out. I can hold that upside down and that won't drop out. And then once you've got it in, you can, as again say, because I've wired those materials, you can then just open those up. And if you want to add another piece, if you've got a small one here, you'll find when you take them off you might have some dry material on the bottom of the flowers, so you might just want to take that away. And then again, just a little bit of glue just to pop some of those further down the design. That one's not very nice. There's another one there. So taking away the whole stem, just adding, and just bringing that flower just a bit further down. And that's your wire bag.